Your nose.
Rest for the weary.
Oh,
Now it's getting scary. He's moving around. I should have not said anything.
Oh, how's everybody doing today?
Hey, Paul, you lost a lot of weight.
All right.
Oh,
Let
man.
me just get this camera set. We should be. How's that better?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Now we just have to look at you.
Yeah, that's a pleasure for nobody.
Puts the pressure on Mike to start showing his face.
Yeah.
look at that. You see a blank.
Hello, Rich
See,
Werner.
now you see it.
Hello,
Mike,
all.
Mike, Mike,
You see
please
nothing.
don't be
Hi-
feeding me
hi,
straight
Colette.
lines like that. A blank. There's so many ways I could go with that.
Oh, it's a blank. It's a brain. My brain is blank. You know, it's not much going on. Not a lot of activity up there.
No, you don't see too many electrolysis things there going. You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of flat lines there going up there.
I'm biting my tongue.
I've been one giant for a long time.
You're Andy, you're biting your tongue? What happened? What's wrong? Something wrong?
I got a text from Florida from an ex-councilman.
Yeah.
And he said that he had heard we were doing great things up here, and he said he was happy.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it our academy
Word-
mate?
Was he being sarcastic?
No.
Yeah,
And he is a sarcastic bastard, but he was on the level. I know he said we were doing well.
the word's on the street.
Yeah, I guess so. You know. Hey, listen.
Well, we could probably start naming names of people who didn't tell him that.
The list would be shorter.
That's funny.
Yeah, but no, he was very impressed. So, you know, he keeps his eye or his ear to the ground. You know.
He always has.
Good.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. He retired from that crime prevention, and they said, yeah, and they said he could come back anytime he wanted. But he said he got his he was there long enough to get Social Security out of it, and you know, like unless we have a second job, we don't get Social Security. And so he was he was relaxed and happy, and he said, you know, so he says I was keeping my ear to the ground up here. And he goes, I heard you guys did a bang up job. And I said, yeah. Well, I said that we finally got we finally got a good commission in place, you know, which makes all the difference in the world.
It's all you, Dave. It's all you.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's what I tell people.
See, we'll give you that, and then this way you can take the good, but when the bad comes, we'll send them your way too.
Bad comes, I'll have to go out of town.
Does anybody need to text Kristen that we have a meeting, or did she call in and say she wouldn't be attending?
I have not heard from her.
She didn't call. I don't have an email from her.
All right, well, let's get started. If she joins, she'll join. We're gonna call to order. This is the reorganization meeting for Vernon Township MUA. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this regular meeting for February 4th, 2021 has been provided to the public and press on January 20th, I say 2021, by delivering to the press such notice and posting the same at the municipal building and filed with the office of the township clerk. Want to all out, and I see Kristen has joined us.
Oh, Kristen.
Duly noted.
Duly noted.
And duly noted. Salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance
flag
to the flag
United
United
States
of the United States of America,
to the republic
to the
the
republic
to the republic
for which it
which
which
stands
stands,
stands
one
one nation,
indivisible.
under God,
indivisible,
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 with liberty
with
Justice
liberty
and
for
justice
all.
justice.
for all.
Now, can you do a roll call with members and professionals
Yes. Mike Fury,
here?
Andrew Pittsger,
Present.
Kristen Wheaton,
Here,
Paul Carney,
I'm here.
Dave McDermott,
Here.
Harry Shortway,
Present.
Rich Wenner, our attorney,
Here.
myself, Donnell Bright, the administrator. I'm here, and Colette Burrell is on as well, our recording secretary.
Hi, Colette.
Okay. Hello, Colette. All right, first order of business is election of a chair. Who wants to be the chair?
You.
I'd like to nominate Mike Fury to continue as chair for the next year.
I'll second that.
All in
And-
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, I guess that's all in favor. Thank
That's
you.
fine.
That's all we have to do, right?
That's
All right,
fine.
I gotta swear you in, Mike.
Oh, do you?
Yep. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Michael
Yes.
Fury,
I, Michael Fury,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully
impartially,
and impartially
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
of chairperson of the VTMUA
for the chairperson of the Vernon Township MUA
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Now you're official.
Thank you.
Hey.
Bravo.
Next order of business, yeah, right. Vice Chairman, Chairperson, Vice Chairperson. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Paul Carney.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nobody opposed? Anybody abstain? Rich, you have to swear him in too?
I do not, just the chair.
Okay. Congratulations, Paul.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
Paul.
thank you.
Are you going to remember that you're the vice chair?
Yeah, I didn't remember last time that I was, so you're just not allowed to
I'm
miss any
sorry.
meetings now.
Hey, if the system ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Okay. All right. I can make a motion to open to the public.
Motion to open to the public?
I'll second the motion.
A motion made by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Dave McDermott. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Anybody opposed? No abstentions? Anybody from the public to know?
I do not see anybody in the public, and I did not receive any emails or phone messages or anything about making the statement for them. So I think that you are okay
Okay.
to move on.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion to close to the public?
I'll make the motion to close to the public.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? No abstentions. Let's go to number 7, consent agenda, reorganization of the resolutions. You know what we're going to do with all these? We're going to go one by one, and you're going to read them?
If you would like me to read the resolutions, yes, I can do that. I know that the packet was sent to everybody very late, so if it makes it easier on everyone rather than rushing trying to
Yeah,
go through them, I can read through them.
Yeah, let's go one by one. We'll go resolution 21-07. That's a resolution designating the official newspaper for 2021.
Yes, so whereas whereas NJSA 40:53 requires that the governing body designate an official newspaper for the publication of all advertisement and notices required by law to be published by the authority, and whereas the second newspaper designated by the body must be one which has the greatest likelihood of informing the public within jurisdictional boundaries of this body at such a meeting, and whereas the New Jersey Herald Sunday Herald is hereby designated to receive all notices of meetings as required under the Open Public Meetings Act, and the advertiser will be designated as alternate newspaper. And whereas it is the opinion of this public body of the New Jersey Herald and Sunday Herald have the greatest likelihood of informing the public within jurisdictional area of this public body of meetings. Now therefore be it resolved by the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, that the 2021-2022 calendar year will receive all notices of meetings of the Vernon Municipal Utilities Authority as required by the Open Public Meetings Act, and the advertiser will be designated as alternate newspapers of the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority.
Make a motion
Very
to
good. Any
approve.
questions? Yeah, go ahead. Make a motion to approve.
Resolution 21-07.
Second that?
Motion by Kristen Wheaton, seconded by Andy. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
The next one is,
Resolution -20. Yeah, I'll just read this and then you can read the whole thing. Resolution 21-08, resolution authorizing the award of professional service contracts and advertising of the same. Go ahead, you can read it.
whereas there is a need for professional services for the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority for an auditor, engineer, and attorney, and whereas NJSA 40:11-5 specifically exempts professional services from provisions of public bidding as provided in the local public contracts law. And whereas the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority is desirous to enter into an agreement for the above-mentioned professional services as a fair and open contract pursuant to the provisions of the local public contracts law, NJSA 40:11-LEPSEC as amended. And whereas the Chief Financial Officer has certified that the value of the contracts are available for these purposes and are in the 2021 Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority budget as adopted. And whereas the local public contracts law, NJSA 40:A11-1, as amended, requires that this resolution be publicly advertised. Now therefore be it resolved by the Commissioners of the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority that they hereby authorize and approve the award of contracts for professional services pursuant to the provisions of the local public contracts law, NJSA 40:20-1, to provide professional services in accordance with the attached contracts for professional services pursuant to a non-fair and open contract to the following: Authority Auditor, Robert McNinch, Registered Municipal Accountant of Wilcox and Company. Authority Engineer, Mr. Stephen Benoski, Principal Engineer, Dewberry, Inc. Authority Attorney, Richard Wenner of Levry, Salvaggi, Abramitis, and Cohen, PC. Be it further resolved that the Commissioners of the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority are hereby authorized and directed to execute, seal, and deliver the attached contracts for professional services on behalf of and in the name of Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority, and that the Administrator shall publish the award of these contracts as required by law within 10 days of passage of this resolution.
Anybody want any discussion, or is there any discussion about this?
Just a point of clarification that PE stands for professional engineer,
Sorry.
not principal engineer.
Apologize.
Also noted
Anything?
to Colette is to make sure that we update the website with these names into the documents as well, because I know we have some issues there that we don't have an update. Okay.
Anybody else? Anybody want to make a motion to pass 21-08?
Motion to pass resolution number 21-08.
Second.
Hey,
I don't know, who was that? Was that Paul Carney on the second?
Dave.
Dave
It was
McDermott.
Dave McDermott. A motion by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Dave McDermott. Roll call, Danelle?
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
Resolution 21-09. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. 21-09. Appointment of engineer and authorizing the award of contract for special services for the Municipal Utility Authority auditor.
Whereas there is a need for the auditing services for the year 2021-2022, and the Vernon Municipal Utilities Authority wishes to fill the position of auditor, and whereas NJSA 40A:11-5 specifically exempts professional services from provisions of public bidding as provided in the local public contracts law. And whereas said specified professional services are to be rendered or performed by a person or persons authorized by law to practice a recognized profession and whose practice is regulated by law within the meaning of NJSA 40A:11-1 as amended. And whereas the performance of said professional services requires knowledge of an advanced field of learning acquired by prolonged formal course of specialized training and study is distinguished from general academic instruction or apprenticeship and training. And whereas the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority is desirous to renew the current agreement with the firm Wilcox and Company for the Municipal Utilities Authority as a non-fair and open contract pursuant to the provisions of the Local Public Contracts Law, NJSA 40A:11-1. And whereas the Local Public Contracts Law, NJSA 40A:11-1, as amended, requires that the resolution be publicly advertised. Now therefore be it resolved that by the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority that they hereby authorize and approve the award of a contract of a professional service agreement to the firm Wilcox and Company pursuant to a non-fair and open contract pursuant to the provisions of Local Public Contracts Law 40A:20-1 to provide auditing services in accordance with the attached contracts for professional services. Be it further resolved that the award of contract shall be contingent upon the completion and receipt of the following: a fully executed professional services agreement detailing the scope of services, established fees for said professional services, mandatory equal opportunity language and affirmative action certificate, and receipt of all statutorily mandated pay-to-play political contribution forms pursuant to NJSA 19:44A-20.4, New Jersey Business Registration Certificate, and upon the aforementioned professional being a member in good standing in its respective profession.
Do you entertain any discussion?
The title at the top of the page says appointment of engineer.
Great.
Which I don't believe this is for.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why appointment and
We
authorizing.
need to amend that and make it for,
The title will be changed, so it'll say appointment and authorizing award of contract for professional services.
good catch, Kristen.
Do they all say that?
The next one says that too, I think.
Yeah, 21-11 is we'll have to change that one too.
We can amend that.
And 10.
Yeah,
So
10 is for the engineer, so you could probably
Oh, okay.
that could stay.
All
Yeah.
right, cool. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve resolution 21-09 as amended in the title.
I'll second it.
Motion by Kristen Wheaton, seconded by Paul Carney with those amendments. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
Resolution 21-10, appointment of engineer and authorizing the award of contract for professional services to the Municipal Utilities Authority engineer. You guys
Whereas-
read that, Danelle?
Yep. Whereas there is a need for municipal engineering services for the Vernon Municipal Utilities Authority, and whereas NJSA 40A:11-5 specifically exempts professional services from provisions of public bidding as provided in the local public contracts law. And whereas said specified professional services are to be rendered or performed by a person or persons authorized by law to practice a recognized profession and whose practice is regulated by law within the meaning of NJSA 40A:11-1 as amended. And whereas the performance of said professional services requires knowledge of an advanced field of learning acquired by a prolonged formal course of specialized training and study as distinguished from general academic instruction or apprenticeship and training. And whereas the Vernon Municipal Utilities Authority is desirous to renew the current agreement with the firm Dewberry Inc. for engineering services as a non-fair and open contract pursuant to the provisions of the local public contracts law, NJSA 40A:11-1 as amended. And whereas the local public contracts law, NJSA 40A:11-1 as amended, requires that this resolution be publicly advertised. Now therefore be it resolved by the Vernon Municipal Utilities Authority that they hereby authorize and approve the award of contract of a professional service agreement to the firm of Dewberry Inc. pursuant to a non-fair and open contract pursuant to the provisions of the local public contracts law, NJSA 40A:20-1, to provide engineering services in accordance with the attached contract for professional services. Be it further resolved that the award of contract shall be contingent upon the completion and receipt of the following: a fully executed professional services agreement detailing the scope of services, established fees for said professional services, mandatory equal opportunity language and affirmative action certificate, and receipt of all statutorily mandated pay-to-play political contribution forms pursuant to NJSA 19:44A-20.4, New Jersey Business Registration Certificate, and upon the aforementioned professional being a member in good standing in its respective profession.
Any questions or discussion?
All good by me.
I entertain a motion to pass this resolution.
Motion to pass resolution number 21-10.
I'll second that motion.
So Andy Pittsger made a motion, seconded by Dave McDermott for resolution 21-10. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
Thank you all.
All right, the next one's 21-11, right, Danelle?
Yes, and we're just going to amend the title to say appointment and authorizing the award of contract for professional services for Municipal Utilities Authority attorney.
Okay. Go ahead and read it, Danelle.
Whereas there is a need for legal services for the year 2021 to 2022, and the Vernon Municipal Utilities Authority wishes to fill the position of attorney. And whereas NJSA 48:11-5 specifically exempts professional services from provisions of public bidding as provided in the local public contracts law. And whereas said specified professional services are to be rendered or performed by a person or persons authorized by law to practice a recognized profession and whose practice is regulated by law within the meaning of NJSA 48:11-1 as amended. And whereas the performance of said professional services requires knowledge of an advanced field of learning acquired by prolonged formal course of specialized training and study as distinguished from general academic instruction or apprenticeship and training. And whereas the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority is desirous to renew the current agreement with the firm Lavery, Salvaggi, Abramitis & Cohen for the Municipal Utilities Authority as a non-fair and open contract pursuant to the provisions of local public contracts law, NJSA 48:11-1, and whereas the local public contracts law, NJSA 48:1, is as amended requires that the resolution be publicly advertised. Now therefore be it resolved by the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority that they hereby authorize and approve the award of a contract of a professional service agreement to the firm Lavery, Salvaggi, Abramitis & Cohen pursuant to a non-fair and open contract pursuant to the provisions of the local public contracts law 48:20-1 to provide auditing services in accordance with the attached contracts for professional services. Be it further resolved that the award of contract shall be contingent upon the completion and receipt of the following: a fully executed professional services agreement detailing the scope of services, established fees for said professional services, mandatory equal opportunity language and affirmative action certificate, and receipt of all statutorily mandated pay-to-play political contribution forms pursuant to NJSA 19:44A-20.4, New Jersey Business Registration Certificate, and upon the aforementioned professional being a member in good standing in its respective profession.
Anybody have any questions or concerns?
No.
Because I don't.
Nope.
And anybody entertain a motion to pass 21-11?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Paul Carney, seconded by Dave McDermott. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
Resolution 21-12, resolution adopting purchasing and cash management policies for the year 2021. I'll read this, Danelle. Whereas the Vernon Township MUA has a need for a purchasing policy as well as cash management policy, whereas the Vernon Township MUA has entered into a shared service agreement with the Vernon Township Finance Office, whereas Vernon Township has a well-developed purchase policy and a cash management policy, which is followed by the finance officer in fulfilling the shared service agreement, whereas it should be redundant to create a duplicative policy, whereas the commissioners of the Vernon Township MUA believe that it is in the best interest of the authority to follow the purchasing policy and cash management policy adopted by Vernon Township. Now, therefore, to be resolved by the commissioners of the Vernon Township Municipal Utility Authority that the authority hereby adopts the purchasing policy and cash management policy as adopted by Vernon Township and as amended in the future until further resolution. Anybody have any questions, concerns,
Discussion.
discussion?
Yeah, this year, what is the fee for this year with the shared services? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I do not, but I can get that for you. You give me a minute.
I should have looked it up before this meeting. I apologize.
It's okay.
And it goes up again next year, but we have a continuous service agreement with them for 3 years.
Yes. And we are saving money compared to what was before.
Yes.
So this year it's $76,300.
Okay, 76.3.
And that's obviously, that's not just the finance office at all.
Nope, because last year was much higher than that. Okay, thank you very much. Motion to approve resolution number 21-12.
Second.
Motion made by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Kristen Wheaton. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 21-13, authority to spend funds and sign checks. I'll read this, Danelle. Whereas the Vernon Township MUA is in need of a formal policy regarding the signing of checks, whereas the Vernon Township MUA has considered this issue in the effort to have the most efficient operations, therefore be resolved that all checks of the Vernon Township MUA shall require 2 signatures. One of the signatures must always be the Vernon Township MUA Authority CFO. The other signature can be the chairman, vice chairman, or the treasurer. Now, therefore, it be fully resolved that the secretary of the board shall keep this resolution with the adopted rules and regulation as official record of the Vernon Township MUA. I actually do have a question. It says, or the treasurer. What does that mean? We don't have a treasurer, do we?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask Rich about this. So I pulled these resolutions from some like last year's, and we didn't have on the agenda to appoint a treasurer or like another secretary. Do we need to do that? Because like you have the elections for the chairman and the vice chairman, but I wasn't sure how that works for the other ones.
Right, so we don't make, we obviously, at least not to my knowledge, do we have a treasurer? You have obviously Danelle, yourself acting as a CFO, and then those subordinates in your department who assist. So personally, I think we should strike treasurer from the resolution. We have one person, we have Danelle's signature, always has to be on there, and then it's either, in this case, for this year, Mike's or Paul's signature that goes on the checks.
Yeah, and just to add, right, just so it'll read, the other signature can be the chairperson or the vice chairperson.
Correct.
That minor change. And along that same line, Danelle, you probably have to work that out with Paul, the signature.
Yeah.
So you work that on the side. Any other questions or concerns about this one?
That was a good pickup, Mike.
only reason I picked it up because I read it myself.
Reading is fundamental.
Thank you.
I
All right, you want to make a motion to pass that resolution 21-13 with that minor change?
Motion to approve resolution 21-13 amended as noted.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
So motion by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Dave McDermott. Roll call?
Mike Fury,
Yes?
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
All right. Resolution -21-14. Danelle, why don't you read that?
Sure. Resolution authorizing the payment of all regulated utility bills of less than $1,000 prior to formal approval. Whereas the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority has a shared service agreement with the Township of Vernon whereby finance office is to process bills. And whereas the usual procedure is to process bills and present them to the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority Commissioners prior to those bills being paid. And whereas there have been a number of circumstances where utility bills are due before they can be presented to the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority. Whereas this has the potential to create late fees and possibly even shutoffs. And whereas the utility bills are quite standard and the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority Commissioners believe they could be paid on a regular basis without prior presentation to the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority. Now therefore be it resolved that the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority Chief Financial Officer is authorized to pay all regulated utility bills of less than $1,000 prior to presentment to the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority Commissioners for formal approval, provided that the list of bills is then presented to the Vernon Township Municipal Utilities Authority Commissioners for ratification at the next available meeting.
Make a motion
Any
to,
questions? Go ahead. Before we do that, any questions or concerns?
I don't have any.
Any motion to pass 21-14?
make the motion.
Second it.
Motion by Kristen Wheaton, seconded by, is that Paul Carney?
Yes.
Roll call?
Mike Fury,
Yes?
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to read this one. Resolution 21-15, authorizing creation of fee insufficient funds, whereas the Vernon Township MUA accepts payments of sewer user charges, connection fees, and other charges by check, whereas from time to time, a check is returned for insufficient funds or other reasons, whereas the Township Finance Office has longstanding policy of charging $20 for any dishonored check, whereas the commissioners of the Vernon Township MUA agree with this policy. Now, therefore, it is resolved by the commissioners of the Vernon Township MUA that any person or entity who presents a check to the Vernon Township Municipal Authority which is subsequently dishonored by their financial institution shall pay the fee of $20 to the Vernon Township MUA. Any questions or concerns?
Is that the standard 20 that we do in the municipality today?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I wonder if we get, I mean, I'm picking nits here, I guess, but it doesn't say anything about, I mean, just having a long-standing policy, I don't know is really a real basis for charging $20, but maybe we add a whereas that says, whereas a financial impact is incurred, just maybe modify that sentence, whereas a financial impact is incurred by the authority when checks are returned for insufficient funds, and the township and the township finance office has a longstanding policy of charging $20 for any dishonored check.
I have no problem with that change. Hopefully somebody captured that.
Yes, I did.
Anyone want to make a motion to pass with those a minor change to a resolution at 21-15?
I'll make the,
Second it.
Motion by Dave McDermott, seconded by Andy Pittsger. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 21-16, authorizing membership into the Association of the Environmental Authorities. Whereas the Vernon Township MUA is a wastewater collection authority looking to join with other authorities in order to exchange ideas, learn from the other authorities' experience, knowledge, and whereas become a member of the Association of the Environmental Authorities, AEA, will accomplish these goals. Now, therefore, be resolved that the administrator of the authority is authorized to make the application for membership into the AEA. Any
Discussion?
discussion?
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit more about what this is as far as what are the costs, what are the meetings, and how do we organize for this?
Along the same lines, and I'm going to ask Kristen. Kristen, the AEA, is it more appropriate that we belong to the WEA rather than the Association of Environmental Authorities? What are your thoughts on that?
You might consider both. If you had to pick one, I'd say it's AEA, just because they're people like us. If you go to WEA, it's going to be professionals from all walks of society, but the Association of Environmental Authorities is authorities like ourselves. I don't know what the cost is. I don't think it's very much. I believe we get a newsletter. This allows us to receive their newsletter. It allows us to attend their functions, I think, at a nominal cost or free. And so it's also, I believe, functions somewhat as a, I'll say lobbying, for lack of a better word, but helps to represent the opinion of authorities in in governmental matters and new bills and regulations at the state level.
Have we been involved in this before?
We have.
Yeah.
And occasionally you would get an AEA newsletter. I think they were usually brought to the meetings that we would pick up at the corner of the table from time to time.
That's correct.
Yeah, just to add to what Kristen said, I know for a fact, because I do deal with the AEA and the WEA. The AEA is a very strong lobbying group down in Trenton, and that's probably something we could probably take advantage of as we move forward with all kinds of things that we want to do. Danelle, what was the approximate cost? Do you happen to know what it is to join?
It's about $3,400 for the year. We do get updates from the AEA. Like you said, I don't like saying lobbying, but basically like lobbying, just letting them know what's going on in Trenton. Some of it is, related to what we do here. Some of it is obviously not, but they do have check-in meetings at least once a month.
We should probably
probably
circulate that information. I mean, I know, again, sometimes there was a flyer at the meeting where we would pick it up in the newsletter that they were having some kind of a dinner or get together. But yeah, if you get those notices, Danelle.
Yeah, I'll send around the ones that, like, because sometimes some of them come through and it literally has nothing to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll forward the ones around that make sense to do that. Yeah. We don't get any, I mean, I have not seen any not pamphlets, but like newsletters or anything that came out. But anything that is sent, I'll forward along.
But on their site now, there's a virtual utility management conference in March. So maybe
Yeah.
there should be something we should have on our agenda to at least
That's
make
weird.
a comment on or update.
Yeah, just to add to that, Andy, what you're saying, if that's the case, what we should do is take advantage. Take advantage of going on some of these virtual seminars to learn about how the AE works and what's going on out at other authorities. I think that's great for anybody who maybe is not as familiar with the water and wastewater business that you need to. And if they're virtual and you can sit in front of your computer for an hour or two, it's probably worth doing. And I know they offer those, but like, I think, in my opinion, if we're going to spend $3,400, we should try to utilize it at the organization as much as possible.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I said it should probably be on the agenda at least once a month. Doesn't have to be every other week when we meet, but we can at least take a look at this and say, is there anything here of interest that we should be, because there's a lot of information here.
Yeah,
And I apologize. I did not look at this before the meeting.
they're a strong organization, and they're very, in my opinion, I've had good experiences with them.
Well, and I'm okay with, approving this resolution, but is this something we should also be discussing with the attorney? Could they bring us some points when we're talking about our other pieces of information we were working on regarding other businesses?
What do you think, Greg?
Well, I think it's always beneficial to be involved in organizations that, one, obviously relate to the goals and objectives of the MUA, and two, provide, in the sense, continuing education regarding what's going on. Particularly with this board, which is a very active and engaged board. I don't think it's at all a bad idea. And I do believe the cost is I don't want to say it's nominal, but it's not something that is what I would view as an onerous cost compared to the opportunities that are presented through the organization. And I think it also lends credence and a little cachet. Not that that matters too much, but it does matter a little bit to the board, and in terms of credibility that the board is taking its job seriously and is engaged in the latest and greatest in what's going on in the world of the utilities.
Yeah, I like what I see here. This is quite well organized, and there's quite a bit of information that I'll retrieve off of it. If you need the site, it's aeanj.org.
And I'm just noticing that the municipal membership rate is $1,352.
It's based on the number, hold on, because I have,
It is, okay.
we receive our billing. I just had it open.
So there's a regular
They
membership.
have, so
that's-
they have, yeah, so it has to do with our operating budget category. So the size of our operating budget minus debt service, that's what our dues is based on.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Okay, so the regular member is for authorities, whereas the
Right.
other is for municipalities. Okay.
Right.
Anybody else? Do I entertain a motion for 21-16?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 21-16.
I'll second that.
Motion by Kristen Wheaton, seconded by Andy Pittsger. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pittsger.
Yes.
And I'll read the last one now. Resolution 21-17, resolution adopting the Vernon Township Municipal Utility Authority amended rules and regulation and Commissioner's handbooks for 2021. Whereas the Vernon Township MUA amends its rules and regulations from time to time. Whereas each resolution amending the rules and regulations is kept by the administrator electronically. And whereas it is advisable to incorporate all the changes into a revised full copy of the rules and regulations on a yearly basis. And whereas the 2020 rules and regulations and the Commissioner's Handbook is amended are adopted as the current full and complete rules and regulations of the Vernon Township Municipal Utility Authority. The Commissioner's Handbook for the year from February 2021 to February 2022. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Recording Secretary is directed to keep this resolution on file until it's incorporated into the VTMUA rules and regulations. Any questions or concerns?
None I have.
Anybody want to make a motion to pass 21-17?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
David.
Motion by Paul Carney, seconded by Dave McDermott. Roll call.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Paul Carney,
Yes.
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Kristen Wheaton,
Yes.
Andrew Pitzker.
Yes.
Okay. Number 8, administrator update. Go ahead, Danelle.
Oh, we did update the agenda, so we have the subcommittee appointments, if you wanted to address that first.
All right, let's address that one first. What I did was I took the charters, and I don't know if I sent it out today or yesterday. I took the charters as subcommittees. We have a total of 6 subcommittees. We have 6 total members, so I thought was reasonable that each member will sit on 2 subcommittees. I circulated that around. I did take the liberty of assigning people to the subcommittees, but that is open for full discussion. And what I did was I also edited it a little bit, where, things that we already taken care of. There was subcommittee, the transfer station and pump station 2 is merged into one. And then we also have a possibility of another subcommittee for a solid waste portion, a subcommittee. So what I did that's what I did. I put it evenly amongst everyone. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at that. I made it even, across the board. Everyone would serve on at least 2 of those subcommittees. Anybody have any questions about, or if they want to think that have an affinity for one over the other? I would be more than willing to entertain any kind of changes.
All right, so we have Harry on 3. And Paul Carney and Dave are on transfer station.
Yes, some of the ones they stayed the same, but some changed.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but the water subcommittee, who's I don't have it in front of me.
It's
Yes.
me
Who
and
did
Harry.
You and Harry.
Chris and Harry.
All right, Kristen and Harry. Harry, you want to chime in? I think you have a good background on the water issues, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Are
we
you
were
comfortable with you?
researching this for the last 4 years when I was mayor. And, I've been on those meetings with Suez. I think probably over those 4 years, we probably had 4 or 5 meetings with Suez, and I can't even count the meetings with the engineers. So it's a real good time to really consider it, with the possibility of Circle K coming into town on Main Street. That would be the final phase to be completed. Phase 1 was done for CVS. Phase 2 was the Church Street area. Now it's phase 3, which is to increase pressure and volume. But the township will have to pick up the cost to do it, which is about $3 million.
Yeah, so I think, the finance subcommittee, me and Andy will stay on the same. I think the one change, Paul, you were only on 1 subcommittee, and I think now you're on 2.
I feel so important.
Yeah, I think you put
Congratulations.
you put Paul on transfer station, and he was on the service area, I think. Yeah.
Right. so if everyone, I mean, listen, the idea here is, with these subcommittees is the two people on the subcommittees to work together on the, whatever subcommittee it is, and then bring it all back to the MUA with their recommendations or whatever they feel they should pursue. I mean, you have the charter, you know what you need to work on. I think this is the best way to do it. And then as we, as we move forward, we'll update the website with our charters and any kind of updates that we have, to those.
I'm good with this.
Is everybody else all right with it?
No problem here.
Looks good.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go with that. And if you can, Danelle or Colette, if you can put that on the website,
Now,
I would appreciate it.
yeah, Mike, on the website, we basically have those. We just need to update them with the detail, but there's also the August reports on most of them already.
Yeah, they could
all
stay
there.
there. Yeah, they could stay there. We just happen to post it as a 2021 charter, and the other ones can remain there. I don't see a problem. You have to take them off.
Yep. Or we put them in historical.
All right.
Good.
Are we good with that? And so as we move forward, we'll emphasize some more than others. So, and I'll mention some updates in my comments. All right, we'll move on to administrators update.
Okay, so Howie couldn't make it today. I think there's a lot of snow plowing the past few days, poor guy. So just a quick update, we did get our 2 pumps in finally for the lift stations. We're waiting on the Muffin Monster. I did talk to GP Jaeger about the Muffin Monster and having it expedited here, but it would cost like $3,000 expedited shipping, so we're not doing that. But hopefully it will be here soon. Howie's also meeting with Jem regarding the lift station improvements. He tried to meet with them, I think, before the storm, so he's trying to set it up now to meet with them regarding the electrical panels, and we will get those ordered as soon as possible once he just touches base with them about ordering them. We were going to order it and then have them do an installation on one, and then hopefully we'll be able to do the installation on the rest of them to try and save some money. If not, they'll do it, but at least we're saving money on getting the panels ourselves. Steve and I have both tried to get a hold of Dave from Wind River, so Harry sent me over his number today, so hopefully I can touch base with him tomorrow and get some final information that Steve's been looking for regarding the trucks to go in and out of the transfer station. He needs some final information so he can continue on with the planning and design for that. I did send a note to Acme regarding their $40,000 in outstanding sewer bills. I know Steve and I have been talking with them about the calculations for square footage for the buildings over there. And he wanted to make sure that the numbers they got were from us, which I looked into, and they're accurate from what we had on file. So he's going to look into it more, maybe at least amending at least the vacant locations that are there. We have had a few new applicants. We've had 3 tenants come in, 3 applicants come in. One I had discussed at the last meeting, the new owner for the failing building came in, and he did finally submit his drawings. So I'm going to be reviewing those compared to the prior approvals that we just did this past November, which was from the prior owner. Provided that they're the same, it's the same plan. It just needs an administrative approval, which I'll send over to the construction office. We also had somebody in the condos who filled out an application stating that he's just adding a bathroom, but then construction said he's adding a bedroom. So I'm trying to sort that out with construction. I don't really know what's going on. If he is adding a bedroom, obviously that will be coming from the board. And we had another application. Oh my gosh. Oh, we had a tenant application for the salon. It used to be a barber shop over by the H&H Plaza. There will be a new tenant in there for a new salon. And I spoke with Steve. It's just an administrative approval because the change of use, like there's no change of use or anything. So I'll get that over to construction as well. I got that in this week. I did reach out, and it's funny that we were just talking about this, but I did reach out to Corey at the township, Corey Stoner, the engineer, a couple of times now regarding the water with Suez and trying to reach out to Suez. He has a pretty good relationship with the guy at Suez, so I know he's tried to reach out to him. I don't know if the holidays got in the way, and now I don't know if it fell to the wayside, but I did reach back out to Corey and said, like, you know, where does this stand? We did talk about dual financing with Suez. We do have that ability, like we spoke with the iBank about that they can finance with us. I did make it clear to Corey that that's probably the direction we want to go, and we should really start pushing on this to get it done. And that's really it as far as an administrative update right now.
Now I got pump station. I'm sorry, pump station number 1. That was fully repaired.
As far as I know, I believe so. Howie said that that Mike's Mobile came out, and I think that we have the bill for it.
And the job is complete.
Any update, Janelle, on the letter and meeting with?
Oh yeah, sorry, with Paul. So Paul reached out. Steve and I were in correspondence with Sarin to try and get all of, you know, the electronic, like maps, the GIS mapping and stuff. So we did get all of that from Mott McDonald. Steve just reached out today again to Paul to see if he had a chance to review the GIS mappings. We sent it over to him for the things that he was asking for. And now we're just waiting to set up a meeting with him.
With Paul Demura.
Yes.
You haven't set that meeting up yet?
No. So Paul said when we sent all the info, Paul was asking for information on the mapping. So we sent it over to him, and he said that he would review it and get back to us. And it's been like a week or so. So Steve reached back out to him to see, you know, where he stands, if he was able to get everything and review everything yet. And he basically said, like, you know, we're looking forward to having a meeting. So
Paul,
I don't know, like, I know that they're all working from home. I don't know if he's had a chance to review the information that was sent to him.
Hey, Paul, when they have that meeting, you want to be on that meeting? If it's a virtual one?
Potentially. I mean, if I can, based on, you know, work and what's going on there.
All right. Just let us know the date, Danelle,
Yep.
Me and Paul, and then we'll let you know if we're going to join.
Okay.
Danelle, question, where are we with Green Realty on their application?
So Green Realty did reach back out to us. That was probably a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
He said he would be coming in the spring to fill out his application. I mean, they already have the allocation. It's just they have to fill out everything with the building department to do the actual hookups.
Okay, very good. And regarding this Acme payout, Rich, you may need to chime in here, is that we're into 1 year now, correct?
Into 1 year on the non-payment,
Yes.
Andrew?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. I mean, we're trying to work with them, but they also have to work with us here. And I mean, they challenge the cost, but that is in the background. So somehow we need to get payment for some of our bills here. So is there any way we should be reaching out to them and putting a little pressure on them to pay up?
I did send a letter to them, kindly reminding them that they had over $44,000 in bills owed to the town, you know, to the MUA. And I was asking, you know, on any updates when they could, you know, let me know when they might be making payment on some of those bills.
And Janelle, that 44,000 is 1 year's worth of non-payment?
No, that's 6 months. So they did pay at the end of 2020, they did make a payment, but they didn't even pay through the full second quarter. So they owe like $3,500 from the second quarter and then 2 other quarters.
Oh, so they don't have a full year of non-payment.
They don't have a full, well, everybody is billed at the start of the year.
Correct.
Right. So, so they're delinquent, and the bills are owed by the end of the year. So it, you know.
So Rich, along the same line with Andy saying, what's the recourse for you just, you
Tax sale.
send a letter.
Yeah.
Tax sale. That's the only recourse we have. I mean, we can, Danelle's sending letters and that's great. But ultimately, when a delinquency exists and it's at the closeout of the year, then we go to sale on it. And either a third party is going to purchase that tax sale certificate and therefore make the MUA whole, or it won't, and the MUA will, the tax sale certificate will be what we call struck off and sold. It's sold in a technical sense only, not in a literal sense. So the MUA would hold that tax sale certificate, and then after 6 months, it could commence an interim foreclosure on the tax sale certificate seeking to take the property.
And did the letter state that, Danelle? Something along that line, or what? Did the
No,
letter
not
say?
this letter, but I have made that clear to them that it is subject to tax sale, which he did not like very much at all, but that's the truth. It is subject to tax sale. The township usually holds their tax sale in November or December.
Yeah, and that's traditional. You can do an accelerated tax sale, but there's costs associated with that.
And I have no problem. I just want to figure out where we're at with all of this right now so that we can address it accordingly or have another dialogue with them, because we are trying to work with them on reevaluating their usage. And Steve obviously is doing that. Okay.
All right. Yeah. So that has to be, they have to be notified of that and at least told that. And once they're told that, then we have to make a decision. So what we're going to do next, we can hold off to make a decision at the next meeting, which I don't mind doing, table into the next meeting, but I would give them one last warning, and then at the next meeting, it's going to go on our agenda to take some kind of action. Does everybody agree with that?
Well, something has to be done. I mean, there's got to be an end to it one way or the other. So,
Yeah.
the ball's in their court, so to speak. They have the ability to do what they're, obligated to do. And if they don't do what they're obligated to do, then we have to do what we're obligated to do. So it's really one or the other at some point. The thing is, how long do you let something go before you have to take an action? I guess that's the ultimate question and decision we have to make.
Well, we're gonna be taking action at the next meeting. So there's gonna be some kind of action in the next meeting. So you can send one more warning to Nell, and then the MUA is gonna put this on an agenda item for the next meeting to take action.
One question before we go with that. Has Steve had any dialogue with them regarding the reevaluation of their EDUs?
Yeah, so they had sent over their paperwork from their engineering office, and he had reached out to me to confirm the square footage, because their calculations are based on square footage and the type of use. So I did confirm that with him. I think the only thing we can really do is take a look at their vacant locations, because a restaurant, like the restaurants that are over there, it's based off of the number of seats. The gym is based off of, I think, the number of employees. The other locations are based off of square footage, and those are standard calculations. I mean, standard calculations that are used across the state for the same things in calculating EDUs. So I don't know if it's really in the best interest, and I think we talked about this before, to just start adjusting what we charge. But I think it's fair enough to address at least the vacant properties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can tell you this, I'm not comfortable with having the engineer do anything until the MUA takes action. So I don't think we should expend any money for the engineer to do anything until we take some kind of action. That's not.
I mean, Steve would review it to make sure, obviously, it is in accordance with how EDUs are calculated, but he can't do anything. I mean, there's nothing he can do anyway. That's all.
I know, but we're gonna take action at the next meeting.
Yeah, now
I'm not gonna do it now.
Are there other LLCs that owe the MUA money? I mean, I was doing a study approximately 2 months ago, and the Black Creek Condo Association hadn't paid any MUA fees for the year. Is that
Yes.
still, have they paid at all?
I would have to double check my outstanding list, but I believe that they're still on there, and I believe that Minerals is too, but I want to double check and make sure, because they could have made payments after the first of the year.
Can we get a list of the LLCs? We're not, at this time, I'm not asking for anything for the residentials, but the businesses in town that owe money to the MUA.
Yeah.
And I think this is a widespread problem. I think the MUA has to take action. It's only fair to the other users of the system.
Yeah, I agree, and we can't just go after one. If there's multiple that are delinquent, it has to be across the board. Otherwise, people will claim favoritism or something along those lines. So we can't just make it look like we're picking and choosing. We have to go, if we're going for one, we have to, go after all of them.
Yeah. So Janelle, could you get a full report of all the delinquencies? And so we can make that an agenda item for the next meeting, and it's like all the delinquencies, not just the commercial ones, everyone, and then get that out to everybody, and then put that as agenda item, and then after the next meeting, I don't want to take it tonight, but once I have a chance to review it, we're going to take some action.
I got a question about this. So say there's an entity that is a year behind. Say there's an entity that's 2 years behind and one that's a quarter behind. Do we pursue in the same manner, or would we have maybe a gradient or a step to it?
So what usually happens is we have delinquency notices that go out to everybody who's delinquent. They're notified how much they're delinquent by, and they know their due dates. That being said, they're also notified when they're up for tax sale. So what happens is, even, if someone, let's say they didn't pay their fourth quarter this past year in 2020, they're up for tax sale this year. So anything that's not paid in 2020 is up for tax sale in 2021. Anything that was delinquent from 2019 just was at tax sale in 2020. So those were purchased by outside lien holders. So essentially what happens there is that the MUA gets their money, and then whoever holds the lien on that property is going to charge probably an insane amount of interest. But we're made whole. And then what has to happen is, in order for that lien to be lifted off of that property, they obviously have to pay the lien holder, and then we have to be notified and we lift the lien. Whether somebody is all 4 quarters in 1 year delinquent, they haven't paid anything, or if someone's 1 quarter delinquent, it's still going to go to tax sale in the following year. That being said, the township, again, does not hold their tax sale until November and December. That's just usually a standard time. They can hold it earlier. I know other towns that hold it in May or June of the year. It's just when the township has historically done it here in the past.
We should get a dollar amount what's owed to the MUA, though, to see if it's cost effective to push it up or wait the full year.
I mean, my current delinquencies are $300,000.
Yeah, we need to get a full report, and get us a full report, so we know what we're talking about.
We might still be prohibited from
Shutting off. Yeah, you can't shut off.
Right,
Yeah,
because of COVID
Yeah,
rules.
that executive order is still in place.
So there's a question
Yeah,
from
with
the
that. Go ahead, Kristen.
so there's a question from the public about whether we would reopen the meeting at the end to the public.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, just so everybody knows, is there's an executive order from the governor that you can't shut people off, and that's still in effect.
We wouldn't be shutting them off, but I don't know if that includes, hitting them for non-payment.
No, it doesn't, not for sewer.
Okay.
No, there is a mechanism, and we talked about this, and Danelle, I'd like you to follow up on this and get some information about recouping monies lost from utilities. I believe there's a mechanism to get funding from the government, but you need to look into that.
Yeah, we actually did look into it. I know that I spoke with the auditor about it, and Rich spoke with us about it, and it doesn't really apply to us. I don't know if Rich, if you want to talk more about it.
Sure.
But we did look into it, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So per the request, I think it was last meeting, if not 2 meetings ago, we did reach out, did some work, and then reached out to Rob McNinch, our auditor, about what I'll just loosely call the CARES Act funding, because that was the ask. And there is a mechanism for certain MUAs and utilities in general of a certain size, and we're not large enough, unfortunately, where you could receive CARES funding, not to fill revenue loss, because we can't do that, but it was essentially used to help the ratepayer pay the bill. And the way it was done in some instances was the funding came in, they issued debit cards to individual ratepayers to be used to pay the utility bills. So that is out there. Unfortunately, it's not something that is available to Vernon.
Thanks, Rich.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll make that an agenda item for the next meeting. I think that's, unless anybody has to add anything to that, we all agree that we have to do something.
We just need to be aware of what we have outstanding here and address it accordingly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with everybody. We have to, we get the information, share it with everybody, and then we can make a decision at the next meeting.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not opposed to having a dialogue with the ratepayers also on making sure that they understand what the issues are. And I guess we have done that with Acme so far. Okay.
All right. Anything else for Danelle? Commissioners' comments will go.
Shall we open
Andy,
it up to the
Fisher?
public first?
You want to open up to the public now?
Yeah, let's do that. Typically is before commissioners'
And
comments.
anybody want to make a motion to open to the public?
I'll make a motion to open to the public.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Somebody
Okay,
out there,
so-
Danelle?
Yep, I'm just gonna, hey, Jesse, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you for taking my comments. I came on late, and when I came on, I thought I heard you say Green Realty. Did you mean Green Team?
The one on 94? Yeah, I guess that's the same one.
Something about in the spring
Mhm.
to be hooking up. Can I ask why they had 3 years since they bought the building to hook up when the deadline for hooking up was like 7 years ago? Can you comment on that?
So Jesse, the question is, the question you have is why didn't they hook up?
The question is, they've owned the building for almost 3 years now, if not 3 years. Why were they given 3 years to hook up? If you don't know, that's your answer and I'll accept it. I'm just wondering, you know?
Well, we're looking into it, Jesse.
Okay. All right, just a question. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Oh, can I just say one more thing?
Go
ahead.
Probably will be surprised to hear this from me, but I think you guys are doing a good job. And Donnell, you're doing a really super job with kind of organizing and operating. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Motion to close public comment?
Motion by Andy Pittsburgh. Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Andy Pittsburgh, seconded by Paul Carney. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Commissioners' comments, Andy Pittsburgh.
All right. One of the projects we've been working on is obviously the policies, and Dave McDermott and I have been working on this dialogue and actually roped in Rich a little bit. We talked about hardships on the policy of adding something there. It's a very sticky area when you start talking about hardships, but I do have a document I will share through Mike, and then you can send it out. But I'm really reluctant to put anything in there about this because, and I'm starting to looking at utilities, what do they do? And with COVID, how does this work out? But I wanted to get a feel from the commissioners here. Should we have something in the policy about economic and financial hardships by users? And what would your thoughts be on what would be in that document? I have some things, but I wanted to, before I threw it out there I wanted to see if you guys had any thoughts about it, what we would do.
I don't object to something like that. I think, you know, we gotta, anybody that would be having these hard times would, you know, in essence, be our neighbors to an extent, be it a business or a home, or family. The only thing is, you know, in adopting something like that or putting something like that in a formal setting, there would have to be, you know, guidelines and you know, obviously be a case by case basis. But with that, it couldn't deviate too much, because, you know, what one person's hardship is may not be somebody else's, and it has to be defined. I think if somebody's going through a hard time, say medical or whatever, and they aren't working and they're having a tough time, you know, paying their bills, we could definitely be understanding of that, and you know, show some leniency and help people out in that respect, until they get back on their feet. But there has to be some kind of defining point to it, because, you know, somebody else's hardship may not be, you know, considered a hardship by everybody else. It might just be, you know, of their own doing, or something along those lines. So I think we should look to be good neighbors and help people out. But, you know, we have to make sure that we don't get taken advantage of in a situation like that.
I think you should follow whatever the property tax rules are. I think you could be setting dangerous precedents. How are you going to judge? What's subjective? What's objective? What's the due process? Is there going to be appeals? Who's going to hear these cases?
Okay.
I would just model it after property taxes. I don't know any hardships under property taxes. If there are, you know, Rich or Danelle, what's the property tax law say?
No, it's an excellent point, Harry. When Andy sent David the email this afternoon, my understanding was, so I was going to say, and you properly said it, you know, this can't be for non-payment of sewer user charges. If we're talking about financial difficulty, if anything, it would be applied to applications to the VTMUA that may require review from the MUA, whether it's a hookup or something like that. But as it relates to the sewer user charges themselves, we can't say, okay, I'm sorry. I thought someone was.
Yeah, keep on going.
No, it was, we can't waive a sewer user charge for any user. What we can do as the MUA, if you choose to do it, is make allowances that are allowances outside of the sewer user charge. Connection fee or connection hookups. We've done hardship waivers on the fees. We've made application to requested application or positions rather from SCUMA. If SCUMA was going to do a reduction in a connection fee that it would otherwise ordinarily charge, and then the MUA would match that in a particular instance due to the financial situation of the end user, or sometimes based upon the use that the end user is, a classification if it's a charitable organization. Those situations we do have some room to play with, but as it relates to the charges themselves, the sewer user charges, we do not. Just like we don't have the ability to say you don't have to pay your taxes unless obviously if, you know, there are certain exceptions if you're 100% disabled veteran, if certain seniors, et cetera, statutorily provided exemptions from paying we can do, but we can't increase that exemption beyond what's provided for in the law. So this conversation, to the extent you're going to have it, and I think it's a good conversation, should be focused around those non-sewer user charges or costs, I should say, that can be borne and imposed by the MUA and the end user, and what can be waived. And then if you're going to do that, what is the matrix that you're going to use? And my comment to Andy and Dave this afternoon was it needs to be, well, I think we have a good starting point from what Andrew put forward and Dave put forward, but what you need is a matrix that is going to be specific enough where it's measurable, right? You know what it is that you're looking for, but also not so specific that it becomes completely inflexible. Because to Paul's point, you know, you're going to have different situations that present themselves. So you need to have some flexibility within your matrix that you're working with.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Andy, I to add to that, and actually Rich answered the question. If there's any, and this is my opinion, if there's any a hardship case, it's going to be along the lines of the connection fees, because in my opinion, the connection fees are completely outrageous, and just there's too much, and it prohibits hooking people up to the sewer system when in fact we need users. So in my opinion, we should focus on, if we're going to focus on hardship, it's on the connection fees.
Okay. Dave, you and I have been working on this for a few months now. Can't seem to get anywhere. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think whatever we do has to be documented. And now this is the first I've heard that it can't be around, we can't base this around the sewer use charges. But if it comes down to, if all we can do is help the people out with connection fees or something like that, well, then we do it and we set parameters so that it gives us some protection. We can say, well, this is what we have to work within. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about that.
Okay.
But like anything we do as a unit has to be codified. And that way it gives us some modicum of protection in case of a discrimination lawsuit or, you know, appeals process, that kind of thing. But nonetheless, I gotta say, this is the first I heard about the sewer use, about that's like kind of prohibited. But there is enough other fees out there that we could help these people out with, especially in today's day and age, at least, you know, for a while, that maybe we could do something with, provided we set the ground rules.
Yeah, then that's the thing. I mean, the parameters are going to have to be set. You know, it is case by case, but the parameters can't be case by case. They have to, you know, kind of be somewhat solid, so that everybody has to stick to the same.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've started to outline some. Kristen, any comments from you?
No, nothing that hasn't been stated already. Thanks, Andy.
All right, Danelle, any thoughts?
No, when you guys were talking about it, I did have the concerns that Harry had.
Yeah, I do too. It's a slippery slope, but we discussed this for a couple of months now, and Dave and I have been hashing it back and forth, and I've thrown some numbers and parameters to start with, but before I publish them for you for a read, I wanted to get the feel here, get a temperature. Mr. Fury, anything else?
No, I think you captured it. You have to actually put it in black and white and how it's going to work. And if people ask for a hardship, they need to address these issues and then make it very clear that it's in the bylaws. And so when they go do it, they understand what they have to do to document it.
Yeah, this afternoon I did outline this with Dave and Rich, and I went back and started looking at utility authorities as well. So I've got more research to do on it, and Dave and I will share that before we finish with it. But just some thoughts, and it's been asked to be addressed, so we're looking into it. That's it.
No, that's good. Thanks, Andy. Next up is Dave McDermott.
No, basically everything that I had to say we covered. With regards to hardship cases, things of that nature, and it's just something that we're going to have to take a bite out of and see, and we will work our way through it, one way or the other.
Thanks, Dave. Paul Carney.
Nothing major. Just looking forward to get the subcommittee that I'm on now going. Dave I'll be in touch, and we could start working on that and see moving forward. It's it for me right now.
Good. Kristen.
I've been mulling over this idea of a stormwater utility as a potential, mechanism, something else that that we might want to take under our roof. I don't know too much about it at the moment, but the state is now allowing stormwater utilities as a fee mechanism to provide for maintaining stormwater facilities, and it might be something that that we would want to consider. So I don't know if we want to make that another subcommittee, but I guess just for now, I'll put that on my list as something that I want to investigate and present to the board.
I might actually have some stuff on that, Kristen. I took a class last year at the GFOA, or 2019, regarding that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have some. I'll go through my files.
The EPA has something here too. I was just picking up on where Kristen is,
Yeah.
because they have it on their site as well.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with it too. Kristen is right. There are starting allowed to form storm water utilities. What I would suggest, Kristen, is to make that the solid waste, just put a slash next to it and put stormwater.
Okay.
I just made you volunteer for more things, and then Harry just has also got some more work to do.
Harry didn't need anything else on his plate. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he can join. He doesn't mind.
So can we make an amendment to that charter, please?
Yeah. Just put a slash next to the solid waste and then just report back.
Slash stormwater. Okay.
Slash stormwater.
That's
solid
fine.
waste, stormwater. No more slashes after that, all right, Kristen? We won't give you any more slashes.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
That concludes my comments.
Because your name is next to that one.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's a good idea. Actually, I think it is a good idea, and it has some potential.
There are none, I mean, even though the state adopted the rules, my understanding is that there are none in the state presently. Nobody's kind of bitten it off. I know, I hear there are some, cities, it's probably more appropriate at a, in a larger municipality. But there are entities out there. I heard that New Jersey Future, would like to work with those communities who are thinking of implementing stormwater utilities. So if it's something that we think looks worthwhile, we could get some assistance with it. It sounds like.
And I will get you in touch with the right people from New Jersey Future who will point you in the right direction.
Great.
So I know those people. I'm on a task force with them. So I know who they are. And then that's your first point of contact that will give you all the information you need about stormwater.
Is that Candace?
No, it's Chris Sturm, and Gary Brune.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the ones that know about it, and then they'll point you in the right direction of who to talk to.
Okay.
Mr. Shortway.
Thank you, Mike. Several months ago, I examined approximately 1,400 accounts, MUA clients, the users, and compared who was paying, who wasn't paying, and I cross-examined that with their property tax bills. The little guy or gal, I found they are paying. They're paying out of the condominiums. Even under COVID, they're finding ways to pay their property taxes and their MUA bill. As a citizen of Vernon, they're doing their fair share for the services they're receiving. But what I found was, and I've mentioned this in several times in my comments at the council, we have some of the developers, some of the commercial interests that owe us tens of thousands of dollars. And my position has been that the township and the MUA use any remedy it has at its hands to enforce them to pay like the little guy is. It's not fair for the unemployed worker in the condominium coming up with his 0.5 or 0.6 EDU every year, every quarter to pay it, and other companies walk away without paying their property taxes or their MUA bills, yet they are able to get building permits and they have open building permits. So as my position on the council, same thing here. We need to take every avenue possible to collect the money that is due. It's only fair to all the users or the taxpayers in this town. And some of these organizations, they have mortgages out, and I'm sure their mortgage companies would not be happy knowing there's liens placed against their companies. We had this when I was mayor, and what we did to enforce it, we called their mortgage company and said, we're going to put a lien down unless we see the paycheck come in. So I think we have to be, no one wants to be, that enforcer out there. But what are we saying to all the people that struggle and pay their bills? So that's why my position is we enforce the rules as they apply to everybody fairly across the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. Just to follow up, I what Harry says, I looked at the same report, and that's true. Most of the small accounts, the residential ones, are paying their bills, and there's commercial entities that are not paying their bills, and I don't think that's acceptable. And we're definitely going to bring this up. We'll get the information. We're going to take action at the next meeting. My other report, I did talk to the engineer today. He called James, who works for Dewberry, just to give everybody an update. He did talk to the DEP. They're doing some preliminary work on permitting. He did mention that the DEP has said that it's not, according to what they said, it may not be allowable to put a transfer station in Pump Station 2. What I asked him to do, James, is that to check with the DEP to get if that's the case, to get the regulatory references or the regulations behind it to say you can't do that. But he did mention that may be a hurdle. But they are actively working on a lot of the items we need them to, and I think they're doing a good job. So that's an update on the engineer, which I think is significant. We're going to have to try to resolve that as we move forward if we want to build a transfer station. He also had some questions about where to locate it, and but they are working on it. So Dewberry's doing a good job. Other than that, I don't have anything else. do I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. Have yourself a pleasant evening.
Thank you
Good night, all.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.